Aeldari Exodites. Welcome, gentle listener, I am Baldermort, your faithful servant, and I wish to introduce you to the forces, factions, and phases of the Warhammer 40K universe, the grim darkness of the far future, where there is no time for peace, there is only time for war. And today, I shall forego shilling my magnificent minis only available for a brief window, links in the video description, so that we can touch on a subject close to my heart. For I took one look, just one, and knew how I could play 11th edition. I felt it from the tips of my toes to the top of my chrome dome. At long last, the Exodites are coming to the battlefield. So, although Eldar videos never perform, I thought it high time we discuss this offshoot of the Aeldari factions. Now, as usual, there will be a tale to show, not just tell, the reality of the perspective and existence of these mighty Eldar warriors, their beautiful culture, why they reject the manifest destiny touted by the other factions of the Aeldari whole. For in the Eldar, in my opinion at least, the Exodites, not the least of their number, but the greatest. So, to whet the appetite and begin the immersion, let us hear an extract from the Bald Library. Yearnings and Truths. The old Eldar clung to his staff as he walked the bright morning light, basking in the sun, exulting in the kiss of the breeze on his ancient limbs. Birds flew above, the herds grazed across the plains. Yet as he walked, he felt a growing feeling of melancholy. It was not his, he knew this much. It could only be emanating from the young man who he spotted sitting on a hillock in front of him. The young man fidgeted and flopped, picked up stones and hurled them, not at anything in particular, just away from himself. A rising agitation that played out before the eyes. The older man slowly wandered to the youth and, not wanting to interrupt a private moment without warning, hailed him. "Why do you wilt so, my grandson?" The youth had a supple and sinewy torso, long, clean limbs corded with musculature from hard work. He sighed deeply, but did not spurn the advance. He did not turn to the older man, but spoke pitched so that he could be heard. Eluthian left with the off-worlders, so did Thaliana. The sagging shoulders of the young man spoke volumes, even if his tone left anything to the imagination as to his mood. The grandfather strode to stand next to the youth, looking not at him, but sharing in the joint vision before them. It was a paradise. "Our community will be diminished until their return." The youth now looked up at the sidelong view of his sire and said, "They won't return, grandfather. What would bring them back? Here, we work from dawn until dusk. Here, we stride the earth while the others hover above it. They do not break their backs in the sun. They do not stoop to plant nor tend. They do not get saddle sores from hunts that last weeks." Eluthian spoke with the off-worlders. He explained their ways to me. Their lives. Theirs are lives of plenty, so they do whatever their heart desires. Their time is their own. They write great fictions. They create great art. They hunt their enemies and cull them like cattle. What is to draw them back here? To this. He finished his diatribe with his head in his hands. The grandfather allowed the moment to land, then answered calmly. "Purpose." Instantly animated, the youth sat bolt upright. "Do the swordwind not have purpose, grandfather? Do the dancers not have goals?" Still looking into the distance, the old man responded levelly. "Their goals are shallow, my boy. They protect our people. They defeat our enemies. These are worthless to you? No, heart of my heart, future of our clan, they are not. If that were the truth of the matter, but it is not. They believe it so, said the youth. Nodding, the elder man responded. They do, because they are lost. The youth now span on the spot and finished stood tall, fully looking to the older man who still hung on his staff and beamed at the bright morn. Their power, their pride, is unquestionable. Aye, but it is not a thing to laud nor wish for, as it is worthless. Seemingly rebuked, the young man took a step back and retorted. Do we not call on them when the enemies come? Calmly nodding again, the older man responded. We do. But do you not call upon a dragon when you wish to sprint the plains? Do you not call a winged one when you wish to soar the skies? Does this make the dragon better than thee? Of course not, grandfather. They are beasts of burden. Do you say our family across the stars are beasts? No, never that. But like the dragon, they have their uses, but they do not know why they do what they do. Their chosen paths, their very lives constrain them. It shadows their hearts from the truth, so they perform the duties their ways permit. Nothing more. And how are we different from them? The older man now slowly turned to the youth and placed his hand on his shoulder and leaned in conspiratorially. Now that is a very simple question that demands a thorough answer. Will your heart be still long enough to hear it in full? The youth's shoulders slackened again, but not in petulance. He nodded calmly and waited. Though his grandfather was known to be long-winded, the boy, now becoming a man, had only recently discerned that these lectures were well worth the effort in the listening. And so, the elder began. The Drukhari, the Eladrith and Nice, have removed all positive feelings from their kind. If any show even a tiny slither of care, compassion, love, or loyalty, they sign their own death warrants, sooner or later. We do not wish to ever be that way, no matter the rewards that may be given by their ways, for they are not rewards at all. The Craftworld Eldar set up wards, protections, and practices that suffocate most emotions. Oh, they can experience joy, love, and laughter, but only within the constraints of their paths. All is rigidly controlled, expressed only through accepted outlets. Even the aspect warriors trapped on a path, the exarchs, wear the helm of the shattered soul. They compartmentalize their rage, lest it consumes them and leads them to she who thirsts. But this is wholly because they will not give up that which is truly capturing their souls. Indolence, ease, luxury. They would rather restrain their hearts than their scope and capacity, for that is all that the ancient technology does. It gives scope and reach. It makes matters far too easy. For a dragon knight to slay 1,000 men, he would need to fight from dusk till dawn for many a cycle. He would need to do it himself. Not so the Craftworlders. Their rage must be controlled as their reach is so far. With their weapons, they can blight or blot out entire communities, entire worlds. And thus, they must shackle themselves. The empty hand leads to an empty heart. They need not toil nor strive. This forces their minds out of sync with their bodies. We Aeldari are a people of purpose. We were forged, born, to do. When all activity is taken from such as we, then the urge to do is corrupted. It loses balance. It turns inwards or outwards. Oh, the craft-worlders say that the dark kin look only at themselves, but they do not understand. The Drukhari turn outwards, inflicting pain, tyranny, and schemes to eradicate their allies as much as their enemies. They look to the shadows where once they looked to the stars, but always they look outward, for they dare not look within. Their souls are tattered, besmirched rags, bedraggled, frail things. They are ugly. Yet the craft-worlders are better, but not truly different, for they look only inwards. The Drukhari would claim that the craft-worlders huddle from the horrors that they have not the courage to face, their own wants and passions. That they look outwards to try to control the galaxy through scrying and nudges here and there, to never face a foe as they should, with overwhelming power and contempt. But the Eldar of the Stars, the craft-worlders, are not so. They control their hearts, their wishes. They cut themselves off from facets of their being, stating that they will experience those emotions on another path. They walk rigid tightropes, then leap from one to another. But truly, they perform psychosurgery on themselves, limiting, monitoring, and moderating. They are not truly alive. We are the true Eldar, sons of Kurnus and Isha, loving our parents, fearing of Kalam and Shakain, thankful to Azaman, filled with the speed and silence of Falshu. We honor the gods. We are humble. We are harmony. We are balance. We do. Our hearts are full because our hands are full. Because we do. We reap and sow. We hunt and skin. We travel by our feet, even if it be over the ways of the old ones. We live and die on our Maiden Worlds, making the world spirit stronger. We love and give birth to new life. We mourn our lost without reservation. Our toil keeps us honest. Our lives are long and full, for we do. They say the Rana Dandra approaches. So many of our youths join the starships or the dancers. So many of our knights are hot to strike blows that will resound throughout the ages. Yet, without we of the Exodites, what do the others truly fight for or against? The Drukhari despise the light. The craft-worlders mope at its dimming. We of the Exodus are the only ones who can see that we are the light. Fire cannot douse fire. Battle feeds more battles. Chaos begets chaos. The Dark Ones, the Chaos Guards, she who thirsts most powerful of all, cannot be defeated by sword nor spell. They can only truly be fought with peace. Our world spirits will heal the warp as they protect our souls. We shall be beacons of light, not only in real space, but also in the immaterium. Our people ruled for millions of years, but we did more than that. We defended this galaxy. We have been brought low, but in the river of ages, this is but a flicker of the eye, a blink that will soon be forgotten. The Aeldari will rise again, but only if we rise above. We must reject much of our previous knowledge, as it was nothing but arrogance dressed up as wisdom. We are beings of light, yet we ignored this and became beings of the material realm. We dominated, but we did not lead, nor heal. So, we Aeldari of the Exodus, we are not backwards. We are the pioneers. It is the Dark and Star Eldar who are clinging on to a failed path, a punished past. They both say we fell from grace. I say we held no state of grace. The Aeldari lost their way. We tried to be worse than the eternal enemy who we thought we had banished, we had defeated, but they were just in slumber. Whereas we should have been more like our mentors, the Old Ones. We must become things of light again, for that is the only thing that can truly destroy the shadow, the darkness. We Exodites are balance. We are harmony. We are the light. Now I have to admit that I will be giving a brief overview of what was, because the army is coming to the tabletop, so it is bound to have some serious changes in the lore, if present form is to be used. One need only look at the transformation of the kin lore, to see what can come from a return to the setting. So let us not beat around the bushes on this one. The Exodites gained their name from the fact that they performed a huge exodus from the Aeldari homeworlds. They left the ancient Eldar Empire centuries, if not entire millennia, before the eventual diaspora of the craftworld Eldar. The Eldari Empire were experts in terraforming worlds. They did this across the length and breadth of the galaxy. Long-visioned as they were, they saw this as a simple matter of creating more real estate for their ever-burgeoning population. Hence, they built for the future. It was to these pre-prepared Halcyon idols that the Exodites went and formed new societies, firmly rooted in the past. The craftworld Eldar left the Empire due to the degeneracy they witnessed, the darkening of the Eldar soul and its society, when they cavorted and caroused so much that they birthed a dark god of chaos, the one they call She Who Thirsts, but the humans call the Prince of Pleasure, Slaanesh. The fall from grace was so fast then that the craftworlders only barely got away in time to avoid the burst screams of that god. The reverberations of that scream that went hundreds of light years and utterly consumed 99% of the Eldar on the home worlds of the Empire. But what made the Exodites leave so early? It was not mere prescience, or farsight, as the Eldar call it. It was not the beginnings of the rampant hedonism that came on so swiftly thereafter. It was far simpler and more direct than that. The exodus of the faithful was enacted due to the dereliction of faith. The Eldar's first sign of their downward spiral was the cooling of their interest in, and supplication given to, the Eldar pantheon of gods. This is why the Exodites are oft churlishly called the Space Amish, for they adhere to the worship of the old gods of the Eldar, despite that the pantheon was consumed by Slaanesh as her first act, despite that their prayers no longer seem to be answered. The Exodites do not worship the gods and pay heed to their laws and mythology, simply out of fear or wishing favor from these powerful beings. They do it because it is the right thing to do. It is the cultural touchstone of their entire people, and the Exodites believe that this, holding true to who they were, is the reason that they do not just live, but they thrive. They are often looked down on by the craftworld Eldar as bumpkins and buffoons who deny themselves the very birthright of the Eldar, technology beyond the wildest dreams of the younger races. But some consider the Exodites the lifeblood of an Eldar kingdom yet to return, which is most famously shown by craftworld Bieltan, the dread Swordwind. For Bieltan, to attack an Exodite world is not just to assail the Eldar as a whole, but to attempt to strangle the new Eldar Empire in its cradle. Many of the craftworld see themselves as the protectors of these communities, even though they spurn the very technological advantages that keeps them alive in a galaxy filled with rampaging orcs, the soulless legions, the xenophobic imperium of man, And not to forget their truest and oldest foe, the soulless legions of the Necrons. The Exodites did not just cleave to their oldest ways, the faith in their gods. They did far more. They spurned the very advantages their empire had provided for them. The Exodites can maintain and use technology of the highest level. They are still taught its use and application, yet they choose to forego it all. Now, I have never been an adherent of the romantic concept of the noble savage, but it is exactly that which epitomizes the projection of the Exodites in the Warhammer universe. So let us lean into this trope, as it is mostly harmless. The Exodites do everything with hard toil. They reap and sow crops, which they plant in the springs of a world, then nomadically wander and only return to these crops when it is time for their harvest. One of the many things that they took with them for the settlement of these Maiden Worlds was a strain of beings called dragons. To the Imperium, they are akin to the Groks, lizards or dinosaurs that can be used for herding, meat and leathers. The Exodites, as is usually the way of the Eldar, just did this with far more gusto. Being adroit at genetics, they created or capitalized on many strains of these dragons. What we would call velociraptors, T-Rexes, and of course the herbivore herd beasts are all included, with the larger ones being used for food, the more aggressive as steeds to ride into battle. The Eldar are, and always will be, a warrior race. So the young bucks of the Exodites, and those with the fires of Eldanesh coursing through their veins, would become what they called Dragon Knights. Cavalry with powerful laser lances, akin, if not identical to, those used by the aspect host of the Shining Spears. And in times of war, when the Maiden World is invaded by greenskins, raiders, humans, or any other of a plethora of horrors, then the Exodites can make war every bit as effectively as their Craftworld or Drukhari cousins. It is then that their technology will be dug out, their weapons primed, and the battle joined. They just utilize the location, the local flora and fauna, to the absolute maximum. Their armies ride to war on the backs of Drakescale or Venomcrest Drake steeds. Their dragon lords mount the dread Carnosaurs that can tear through enemy lines as fast as they can puncture and pull apart battle tanks. Their foot soldiery mass on the backs of beasts of burden and use great howdahs to take them into war, akin to those you might have seen on the backs of Oliphants at the Battle of the Pelennor Fields. Now imagine them on the back of the likes of Stegosaurs, Brachiosaurs, which of course they call Megasaurs. Personally, I hope they use my favourite dinosaur of all time, the Triceratops. Now that would be a time when I say take my money. But we move on. Now the larger herder beasts are fitted with heavy weapons platforms. As often as they are howdahs, the firepower of the Exodite warbands is every bit as wilting as that of their cousins. To face an Exodite army is not like fighting snakebites of the orcs. Though their weapons might be fashioned to resemble spears and swords, they also contain the power fields that permit these archaic-seeming weapons to slice through power armor and orc mega armor as if it were butter. Thus far, their forces include Laze Stalkers, who are skirmishers and snipers, even more deadly than the scouting forces of outcasts fielded by their cousins. Able to swiftly redeploy and harry their enemies from the backs of dark-scale drake steeds, they are a phantom that cannot be caught, rarely even seen. They have Dracoliths, which one should rightfully envision like war dogs, packs of velociraptors that can fall on the flanks or rear of an enemy force and tear it apart with incredible ferocity. In near all engagements, a broken foe takes more casualties on the chase down than they ever do in the battle proper, with the Dracoliths being hunted down and slain goes from a possibility to a certainty. They have Stone Singers, which are the equivalent of the Skyrunner Farseer or Warlocks. Their mystic might is certainly no less than that of any other Eldar faction. They can slay with a word, cripple with a hand gesture. They can see the strands of fate, and play with them to create the perfect outcome for their fellow warriors. They are also able to heal their brethren dragon masters and knights as ably as slay the opponent. They are terrors and healers, the Eldar psyche in motion. Clan blades are their scouts and surveillance experts, watching any foe for days if necessary, winkling out their weaknesses and perceived strengths, all in preparation for the Dragon Lords to fall on them and eradicate any invader to the least and the last. But of course, even they die in combat. And each of the Exodites also has a soul stone. Like all Eldar, they live under the shadow of she who thirsts. For any Eldari who dies must then fear the chaos god Slaanesh, consuming their soul. Where the Craftworld Eldar have their huge infinity circuits, a synthetic afterlife that harbours their souls, protecting them from the predations of Slaanesh, so too do the Exodites have an equivalent, their world spirits. When an Exodite is slain, for whatever reason, their soul takes refuge in the stone on their body, where the Craftworlders then take the stone and plug it into the infinity circuit. The Exodites take the stone to a ritual site and break it. The soul is then released and shepherded into the embrace of the world spirit. It is why Aeldari Exodites will never cede any ground, never retreat from a world, because the souls of their people are intrinsically linked to that place. To give in to another, to let them occupy it, is to damn every last Eldar soul that makes up the Gestalt force that is the world spirit. And it is not as passive as the infinity circuit. The world spirit will alter the weather to assist its kin, rain down lightning on invaders, bake those who cannot sustain the kiss of the sun, darken the skies with clouds against those who somehow rely on its rays. A wrathful world spirit is arguably more dangerous to interlopers than the Dragon Knights themselves. And I, for one, look forward to new and much more expansive lore being provided about this faction. I hope to dig out my Eldar, spruce them up a bit, then get a few bat rips up on the Patreon. Wish me luck. Painting was never my forte, so I shall need every last drop of patience, support, and luck you can give me. So, also, if you have any great painting channels for Eldar, throw a link in the comments if you can. I will need that help. Next week will be a whopper of a Chaos video, hence this one being so short. So join me next Friday for that one. You might want to visit old playlists, which of course I will list, to get ready. Just saying. And while we are at it, do hit the links in the video description or pinned comment to catch that once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to gain some miniatures of the characters I have attempted to bring to life. Because if you do not support this drive, we may never see their like again. And most importantly of all, no matter what you do today, do try to make some time for fun. Toodaloo.